50th Premier League goal. It's all going well. It's all looking slick for Manchester City, and that's where I'd like to talk. That's what I'd like to talk about now, Steve, because they spent some big money on transfer deadline day. But they're looking good and they're looking sharp.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best City performance yesterday, and I think they've had a kind of a slightly erratic start to the season. They certainly haven't hit top gear yet, and that is the ominous thing, really, because yesterday, once again, it was a bit of a struggle. They were on top, but didn't kind of finish the job off in the first half, when perhaps they should have done. But, you know, when they need a goal, they've got this kind of habit that Manchester United kind of blueprinted years and years ago. They're able to produce one, you know, just when it matters. And yesterday they did look as if they could go up a gear. They certainly weren't sort of stretched or firing on all cylinders. But, you know, when QPR did get the equaliser after half-time, City responded immediately. And how many times have we seen them, you know, do that? And I think that's the ominous sign for the rest of the Premier League, is that when they do get into their full stride, they're certainly going to be title favourites.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of transfers, it's very easy to criticise Tottenham and their spending habits and the way they do their business, but Manchester City are another team that tend to do their business on the final day of the transfer window as well. Yeah. But
and again, the similarity, I think, with sort of Tottenham and AVB is that I don't think Mancini got his sort of Premier targets. I think he got Javi Garcia in. Not sure he was his first choice. I think De Rossi was certainly his top target.
De Rossi and Van Persie were,
yeah, maybe after that, Martinez, the boy from Bilbao, was ahead of Garcia. So maybe in that situation he's got, you know, for a defensive midfielder, he's got his third choice. And you would say, is he any better than Nigel de Jong, who's had 2 years, 3 years to bed into the Premier League at Manchester City? And now you're asking Garcia now to sort of hit the ground running, if you like, in a team that is used to winning a title now, and that may possibly lose again Yaya Toure for the African Nations Cup. So Mancini has got a few problems, and as Ollie's just said, up front will be a problem, because obviously there's the Balotelli story about his eye operation this week.
Yeah, that's right.
No one's going to get the violins out for Mancini, are they? I mean, you know, considering what's been spent in the last year or two, I mean, you know,
but he's entitled to some credit. He won the title last season. They finally cracked it.
Yeah, he did, but you know, this idea that, you know, you then turn around and, given what City has spent, are going to buy, I mean, Martinez and De Rossi, I mean, these would have been huge, you know, these would have been, you know, sort of record-breaking transfers again by European spending. Now, you can argue, you know, when you're champions, should you kick on? And now they obviously got higher ambitions of winning the Champions League, but it's this idea that the manager could just sort of click his fingers and expect a club that have been losing colossal sums of money, and we think have to try and get somewhere towards break-even in the next couple of years is laughable, really.
I agree with that, but don't you think that it's interesting that City, given what they achieved last season, and they did win the league, they did crack it, they're seen as obviously one of the moving, massively upwardly mobile club within Europe, that they missed out on what certainly were touted as their top targets. You know, we're talking about them. They missed out on Martinez, who went to Bayern, didn't they? You know, they missed out on Van Persie. They didn't get De Rossi. You know, I accept what you're saying, that those would have been massive spends. They didn't get Hazard. You know, Chelsea did continue to those kind of sums that you're talking about. Chelsea did do that, you know.
No, but they had their couple of seasons of reining in as well. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one interesting thing. It seems to show up, which I think has been seen more across the Premiership in Premier League this week, this transfer window, is the fact that a lot of these transfer dealings have been board run, basically. Yeah, I think I mean, a manager, I think, will always have an input, but I think across a lot of clubs, and that includes at least 2 of the top 4, Chelsea and Man City. Yeah. I think the board and directors of football are having a bigger and bigger say than ever.
Well, I think
into business.
Certainly the board-level mentality at City, I think, was that Mancini had a squad of players that won the Premier League last season. Why do you need to massively kind of reinvent that team with 4, 5, 6 players? I don't think you do. Mancini obviously felt that they did, and obviously that's why he had his public sort of spats with Brian Marwood, who was in charge of sort of you know, hunting down those players.
Well, also when you're writing off huge sums of money, I mean, they sold Adebayor for, is it 5 million? I mean, that is a huge write-off of of a transfer. You know, it's
Not Mancini signing though.
No, but you know, if you're talking about trying to bring some rationale to Manchester City, then you got to start somewhere. And you know, they're already taking a hit on that. If you suddenly go out and buy De Rossi for, you know, and wages would have been what, £200,000 a week.
Well, they're clearly. I think the owners are clearly not going to do that, are they? They've made that clear.
Adebayor, Steve, is a player of immense pedigree. What about Carlos Tevez yesterday? Because you were at the game.
Yeah, I was.
His relationship with Mancini, with Manchester City supporters, is it back? Is it an unshakable, and the bond's back?
Undoubtedly. And it's an amazing kind of turnaround, really, because I think, you know, when you looked back to that the spat they had in September of last year, I think it was, wasn't it? Almost a year ago, when he had the spat at Bayern Munich.
Champions League.
You know, Mancini then said he could never play for the club again. On his performance yesterday, absolutely, the world's all right with
you can't
all
leave
of
him
them.
out.
Absolutely, and you know, the one thing that you do get with Tevez is an incredible energy and work rate. And I suppose, you know, he's got his critics. You know, people call him a mercenary and just a hired gun, basically, who's only in it for the money. All of those things may be valid points, but one thing you cannot deny is that he is an ultra-professional when he's on the pitch.
Yep.
And yesterday, he was the clear reason why City won that game.
Can you just tell us about another striker as well? I love the headline in your paper this morning: City stunned as Mario faces an IOP, and in the brackets, I don't know if you can read it, but it says it might just explain those dodgy pink headphones. But Steve, it's got your byline on it, so I'll let you explain what's happening with Mario.
Balotelli's had an eye infection the last couple of weeks, and apparently it's stemming from him using contact lenses because he's short-sighted, and it's now got to the point where he can't use the contacts anymore. He needs to wear them, and he's having an operation in Italy on Tuesday, I think. Which, on the face of it, is simple laser eye surgery, corrective eye surgery, which you know, some people have it done in a day. But I think with footballers, obviously, you know, there's a certain element of kind of caution applied to that, and I think he may miss a couple of games. The good thing for City is that it's happening during during the international week.
Yeah. What about Tony Fernandez's eyesight? Because he was at the Etihad yesterday to watch QPR. What would he have made of Mark Hughes' team and the big spending? Well, they say the net spend is only about £2.5 million, but they've certainly brought in a lot of players.
They have. I mean, yeah, there was a fair sprinkling of those on show. Obviously, his main two, you know, the goalkeeper Cesar and the boy, the Cameroon defender, Mbaye, is it? Yeah. He didn't play yesterday. Granero played in midfield, lasted sort of about 75 minutes or so.
Real Madrid.
Yeah, he looks okay. He tired a bit, to be honest with you. Obviously not used to the pace of the Premier League. But yeah, they looked at times like a bunch of strangers. They did get better in the second half. You know, Mark Hughes sort of clearly had something to say at half-time, and they did get better. But I'm afraid they still got problems in defence for me, and that is going to be an area where they're going to have to really buck up.
What do we make of the recruitment policy at Rangers? Because they've made some big changes.
Well, no, and that's where I worry. I mean, you know, last season when, you know, they changed manager and that total change of philosophy, they tried to make a lot of changes in January. And when you're making those changes, you're doing them basically in a position of a degree of panic, basically. It certainly was in January, and now they're making more huge changes, and it looks a bit scattergun.